VTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. It's Monday at 4 o'clock, so it must be the Community Bell Show. We are so happy to have you again with us to celebrate. And I did say celebrate because we celebrate on Mondays at 4 o'clock. We celebrate information. We celebrate people. We celebrate events. We just have a good old celebration time. And we've got a couple of guest speakers today who we're going to celebrate. And I understand one of our guests, Coach Dale, has a birthday today. And so we're going to celebrate him today also. So thanks for being with us on this Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock on the Community Bell Show. Our guest, Mr. Dwight Harris, should be coming on soon. Dwight has been traveling. He's in New Orleans right now, so he may be having a little trouble getting on, but that's all right. We have Coach Dale with us. Are you there, Coach Dale?
Yes, I am. How you doing, man?
I'm great. I'm great. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Well, look, it's on the 23rd, but
That's all
I'm
right.
so
We'll claim
busy.
it.
Yeah, I'm so busy, but I appreciate that. 55. Thank you.
55 is a good number. Some didn't
Woo.
make it, so we're just glad you did. The
Yes,
23rd
ma'am.
is a good day. It just so happens that my only brother's birthday is on the 22nd of October.
Wow.
You're in
Wow.
good company. And the
Yes,
other good
ma'am.
thing is our radio anniversary is on the 22nd of October. So we got all sorts of good things that go on in October around the 22nd, 23rd of the month. So
Yes, ma'am.
must
Yes,
be good
ma'am.
timing. Must be good timing. Well, thank you for joining us today. We
Yes, ma'am.
appreciate it.
Yes,
Of
ma'am.
course, Dwight will be on, I'm sure, as soon as he can find a spot. He was traveling when I spoke to him earlier. He had just landed in New Orleans for an event, but he said that Coach will be there. So we're glad to
Yes.
have you here. Talk to us
Yes,
about
ma'am.
yourself, Coach. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I am considered a community activist. I'm proud to carry that title. I'm a life coach. I'm a peer mentor. I am a social service technician. I had a long, extensive run with the neighborhood service organization. Let me see, community network services in Farmington Hills. So I've been in the business of. I like to consider us as humans like Rubik's cubes. So I've been in the business of trying to assist people in getting their colors matched up.
All
All
right.
all while, hold on now, all while figuring my own colors out. So
Oh,
so
oh,
but
you've been doing something then.
oh man. But also I'm a returning citizen. I served nearly 20 years, a few months shy of 20 years. I left in 1987 as a teenager. I came home in 2006.
Oh, wow.
Uh, yep. Since that time, I've been married now 16 years. I've been home 17 plus years. I've been married 16 years. Own my home. I got an 840 credit score. I mean, own my business, Up From Ashes LLC. I'm also an author. I wrote a book.
Oh, all sorts of blessings came your way. It's amazing what God can do for you, isn't it? Though
Yes, yes,
it's
it is.
amazing. Talk to us about the book you wrote.
Woo, that one there, boy. Listen, I'm telling you, Auntie, you don't mind me call. I say
Oh,
Auntie out of
absolutely not.
respect. Yes,
That's wonderful. I'm either
I
auntie
always,
or mom,
I
so
always ask first.
I accept both. I'm
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
you're
Yes,
55.
ma'am.
I'm going on 80, so I'm a happy camper. So
Well, see, I'm gonna say Auntie because you still a whippersnapper. So I'm saying Auntie.
all right, I love it. I'll take that.
So I will say this. They had me on Fox 2, and we had a good interview. And Mr. Lee Thomas asked me that question. He
Mhm.
said, "When? So tell me about the book. When did you know? When did you start this mission on the book?" And first, the book is entitled "Up from Ashes: The Streets, Prison, and Redemption." It and like I told Mr. Thomas, I knew I had a spiritual inkling that I knew a book was in me, but at that time, during my incarceration, in there, you have to acclimate to the environment. I'm not a predator, but I could not be a prey.
No,
When you
you could
when
be talking about I'm writing a book in jail. That was not
no
going to
no
go
no
well
you
with the
you you
people.
you it's survival. It's
Yeah.
survival.
Yes.
I will say though, once I got out and established myself, being comfortable with being a grandfather, being comfortable with being a husband, being comfortable with working in the industry, and then starting my own business. At that point, I said, okay, now is the time. And with some pushing from my wife and the creator, God, I went on and finished it. Now, I'm going to tell you, it's very difficult because it was a lot of things that were buried years from my youth growing up
Mhm.
that I didn't want to uncover, but it was some truths that I had to come to realize to grips with, and it was some things I had to unearth in order to get this book out. So the book became therapeutic.
Oh, I'm just so sure that happens, and that happens so often. Just as you say, there were some things that you probably tried to forget ever happened that came to the forefront when you began writing the book. I was listening to a show just earlier today. The famous Kerry Washington uh, recently wrote a book,
Yep.
And she talked about how she just found out that her father was not her biological father. And she just found it out when she began to write the book, and how it just kind of, the feeling of that happening. But what she said was that it made them closer. It made her family
Yeah.
much closer once they were be able to stop living the lie, so to speak.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Mhm.
ma'am. One of the biggest things for me was coming to grips that, and you know, it's funny that a lot of people seen this growing up. Now, since I reconnect with a lot of my homeboys and homegirls, I would tell them, I wrote the book, and in my book, I tell the truth that my mother abused me. My mother tried to shoot me in my home. My mother tried to hang me. So in the home, the monster was created. And that's my message now to parents, these young parents and parents that don't understand. Shooters, killers, suicide, teenagers, they all got one thing in common. They all come from under a house, a roof. And if we're not careful of what we're imparting as guardians and parents into these children, we create the monster or we create the savior. So my mother, she created the monster. Instead of me turning my anger and frustration on her, I turned it towards my community, and I became a terror. But I will say this: it wasn't until I got incarcerated that I was found out that my mother was one of 4 daughters that was sexually abused by my grandfather in Mississippi in the 40s. So
Wow.
she had issues, and she had issues with men. And it was so now you got a generation of
Generation.
hurt people hurting people. So yeah, it was a lot of things like that that I had to uncover. I had to deal with a lot of tears. I had to cry. So yeah, and then once I paroled, I actually became her guardian and took care of her until God called her home.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a book, all right.
Yeah.
That is definitely, that's a book. That's a
Yes,
book.
ma'am.
And there's
Yes,
so
ma'am.
many people, I'm sure, that can tell the same story, a very similar story about being abused in the home. And that's why it's so important that we take care of children,
Yes,
whoever
ma'am.
child it is, whatever the situation is, that
Yes,
we
ma'am.
make sure that they are okay and that they're safe. Because I believe, just as you said, a lot of the violence is taking place because the babies have been abused. And that's the only way they know
Mm.
to get it out, to get some relief. And so we've got to do some real work on working with the children in the school system and the churches and anybody else who will work together to help these
Mm.
babies. Because you think about the children who, you talk about absenteeism, and it's chronic absenteeism in Detroit public schools. Babies can't get to school on their own. They've got to have a parent or some
Yes,
adult
ma'am.
to get
Yes,
them
ma'am.
there. They don't learn on their own. They don't sit down and say, oh, I guess I'm going to do this homework right now. They've got to have a parent who teaches them that this is what you need to do, to how to set your time frames, what kind of study habits you need to, and you have to have an environment that they can study. That's the other thing.
Mm.
They can't
Mm.
study in a household that's full of confusion. So we've got some work to do. And I think your book, as you talk about it, really speaks to what we need to do for children.
And if I could add to that, Auntie, because you're 110% correct in your observation, I would add that so I run into a lot of people out here in these organizations, and they saying, yeah, we're going to reach the kids, we're going to go into the schools, and that's good. But it makes sense, but when you give the children these tools, right?
Mhm.
Okay, for a day they feel good. They might not want to, after talking to you, they might not want to commit suicide, or they might not want to go pick up a pistol or try to sell dope. But guess what? If we're not including the sick parents,
Yes.
they going right back into the household, and it starts over again. That's how it was with me. You could talk to me all day, and I'll be like, "Yo, okay, you're right. As soon as I go back home and I get abused and I get hollered at and chased with knives, butcher knives and stuff, well, now I'm pent up again. I'm afraid, but now I'm angry. So I'm going back out. I'm doing something.
Yeah, I'm going to find somebody to take that anger out on. And if you happen to be the one right in front of me right now, unfortunately, you get it.
And I try to tell these organizations, we have to somehow include. I'm going to tell you something, Auntie, and I know this might sound crazy, but my thing is, I know my people, and I'm specifically focused right now on my people, right? And I know one thing about my people, they love their little trinkets from the government. They love them food stamps. They love this little money they get. Well, my thing is this: if you don't want to be a part of your child going, you don't even PTA meetings, coming up to the school, being a part of your child. Well, we need to tie it to your money. If you want to keep getting this, you gotta have a family therapist. You gotta have a peer mentor that teach you how to communicate with your child. We need to somehow. I know it sounds crazy, but what else can we do?
It does not sound crazy. It does not sound crazy. I've got people who work in the school system, and that's exactly what they say. We've got to tie this to those benefits that they cherish so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Really tied to the benefits, we've got to also say to them that you are legally responsible for this child getting to school. Now, if you don't do it, I'm going to take you to court.
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I know some folks have said, well, that's kind of harsh. No, it isn't.
No, it's not.
No, it is not harsh.
No, it's not.
Some people, that's what you have to do to get through to them, that they have a legal responsibility to take care of this child and to see that this child gets to school. It's their job. It's not the 12-year-old's job to get the 6-year-old to school. It's the job to get both of them to school. And so I am a proponent of taking them to court and saying to the judge, okay, judge, I bet if they miss a day or two of money from that job, they'll probably figure out how to get this baby to school.
That's right. Auntie, you see, so I was working with Raphael Johnson with the 180 program, a good friend of mine, and we actually I met Raphael in prison, and he's doing very well. Dr. Johnson now.
Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, Dr. Johnson. But so with the 180 program, he contracted my business Up From Ashes to work with him to push his program, which is good. And I had a great time with them students over at the Harper Woods School District. Mm-hmm. But what I noticed was a lot of parents will come in there, when I tell you, smelling like the whole marijuana factory, like where they actually just grow it all. So what they're not realizing, and I am not, hey, whatever a person want to do at their home, whether I agree or not, that's my business. But when you smoking marijuana that's 70% or higher THC, well, your children in the car, guess what? They are getting high. Yes, they're getting high. Mm-hmm. They can't concentrate. I see it. They think they saying, oh, it's ADHD. No, they exposed to this poisonous high THC concentrated marijuana, and they can't think. It's slowing them down.
And just because it's legal doesn't mean that you have to do it.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to do it. Have enough sense not to do it around your children.
Around the baby.
Yes. And I think a big part of this is educating the parents. We talk about educating the children. We need a parent institute.
We do. And when you listen, Auntie, when you started, I'm down with you.
Okay. All right. Then we will have to talk about that, because I'm
yes, ma'am.
What I see, it's almost like this is not happening. These people really don't think this, do they? But they do.
Yes, ma'am.
You do.
Yes, ma'am.
And because I go back to the days when the parents didn't come to the school to jump on the teacher if the child had done something wrong. The parent came to the school to talk to the teacher about how we're going to make sure this child did it right.
Yes, ma'am.
And
I agree.
That's the kind of environment children need. They need to know that somebody cares enough about them to come see about them.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
As they say, come see about me. Go see about babies. And so part of what we have to do is not just talk to the babies, because the babies will be okay if the parents get themselves right.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and
ma'am.
So I want to begin to talk about The Parent Academy, as you said. Now, I know the DPS, Detroit Public School System, has what they call a Parent Academy. And I've got to investigate a little bit more about what that Parent Academy is doing, because in my opinion, it hasn't gotten to where it needs to get yet, because I still see too much going on.
Yes, ma'am.
These babies, there's too many parents coming up to the school screaming and shouting and want to jump on the teachers and jump on another child and jump on whoever's in the school because their kid did something wrong.
Yes, ma'am.
And they're screaming and hollering and cussing and doing all sorts of things in the school. Well, they don't know what that, number one, does to the child around its peers, but does to the child psychologically.
Ooh.
We've got to find a way.
Because if not, I'm gonna tell you, the alternative will be, well, we kind of see the alternative now with the young people that got the guns. They doing whatever they want to do because they know the parent. Hey, you're not raising me. I'm going to be responsible for raising myself and my gang members who younger than me. So now they doing what they think is the right adult thing to do. But the problem is the collateral damage is innocent people. Innocent children. They don't know how to shoot. They don't go to the range. They don't.
They don't make the gun safe. They just pick it up. They don't know anything about it.
Yes, ma'am. So I agree with you. It's some things, but I truly feel as though we have to bring those parents into this conversation one way or another. We got to make them listen.
I agree.
Yes.
After we come back from this message, we're going to talk some more with Coach about how we're going to bring these parents together. And we're going to talk about that Parent Academy that we just spoke about.
Oh, I like that. There were many times I stumbled and fell. The devil thought he had me in his hands. I fell down on my knees. I cried, Lord, help me, please. I fell down. There were many times I stumbled and fell. The devil thought he had me in his hands. I fell down on my knees. I cried, Lord, help me, please. I fell down. He cannot solve no burden that's too hard for God.
Every trial,
He will defeat
tribulations,
He'll be there to the end.
there's no problem,
He cannot solve
no burden.
that's too hard for God.
Every trial,
He will defeat.
tribulations,
He'll be there to the end. Oh, just hold on. I was down in despair, no hope, no care. Friends became few, don't know what to do. But God stepped in, He made a way. No more sleepless nights, but joy to my day. Now I can stand and testify. Where would I be without Christ in my life? I may slip and stumble and fall, but what a mighty God who will cover it all. This joy that I have, God gave it to me to tell you all of His grace and mercy. He will never leave you all by yourself. It's only a test, so take the first step. So don't lay there down in the dumps. God knows just how to pick you back up. Oh, yeah, He will. I know He will. 'Cause I tried it for myself. And I know one thing, that God will. He'll pick you back up. He'll never leave you. He'll never forsake you. He'll be right there to the end. Just hold on. Be strong. Don't you dare give up. Don't you
We're back. We're back. God will pick you up. Lord knows we need a lot of pickup these days. So we're going to continue trying to pick folks up. Coach, you there?
Yes, ma'am.
We've also been joined by RK Bay. There you are. Welcome.
How y'all doing?
We are great.
Hey,
How
brother.
are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Praise God. I'm good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Introduce yourself to the audience.
Well, my name is Arki Bameka Bay,
Okay.
and I am a proud member of society.
All right.
I've come a long way. I've been through a lot. And I was listening to Mr. Spradell, you know, and his story and his experience. I know the man personally, and me and his situation is kind of similar, but not quite.
Okay.
I wasn't raised up in an abused family. I had a mother and a father always present in the home. As a matter of fact, I was raised properly, but I was a victim of the environment. And I was kind of like fascinated with the streets or gangs and stuff like that. But as far as my home upbringing, it was flawless. But I just had a fascination for gangs. And you know, once I leave my home, you know, it's a different world once you leave your home. And so I got caught up in a lot of gang activity, even back in the 70s. As a matter of fact, that's what led me to prison. I committed crime and I was convicted. And I was convicted of murder. And by the grace of God, you know, I went through it. And he saw that it was necessary for me to return back to society. But when I was there, you know, I had to go through a lot to see who I was inside as a person, because I never knew who I really was as a person. And it took that to get me to see who I really was as a person. You see, and so prison ain't all bad. You know, I don't know how you can take that, but it's not all bad, because sometimes God has the best plan for you, you know, for your life. Because when I went to the streets, my life was going down. And so I guess God saw it necessary for me to go the direction that he wanted me to go. Because I understand now that wherever you go, there are people. And everybody can help themselves.
Yep.
And so sometimes God will put you where he wants you to be in order to help others. And so God allowed me to find my true self, the essence of who I am. So he told me that you live in a world of change. Everything changes. The world changes, society changes, community changes, situations, circumstances, and people change. So my change was a little extraordinary, because my change led me into becoming a leader, a teacher of men. And so I was put in a position to help others, to teach others, to find their true self, because sometimes we don't see the best of the humanity that's in us. And so that's where a lot of our young people are. They never get a chance to see the best of their humanity. And so sometimes they have to find themselves in situations where they might think it's not good for them, but God knows best. I've taught a lot of men in prison to find themselves, and it ain't a religious thing either. It was a situation where things just changed. See, we got to understand that change is going to happen. See, and maybe our lawmakers and the people who are responsible for keeping us in prison or sending us to prison can't see change in real time. You know, when the guys who are in prison going through the different programs to make that change in their character, in their behavior, and in their personalities. And so because they don't see them changes in real time, they focus in on the crime itself and what you were sentenced to. And because you were sentenced to so much amount of time for the crime that you committed, you should be there. See, that's not looking at the situation in real time. See, in real time, you have a lot of people in prison who are ready to come out here to make a difference because they have changed in their character, their conduct, and their behavior. And so
that's always a big plus. They've got to make that change. Now, Coach is now working with something called Up From Ashes, trying to help people change. What are you doing to help the change of those folks who have come out?
Well, I'm still following the same program that got me out. Okay. See, you have to stick with the productivity of the program that you involve yourself in to use as the change maker. And so I follow, just like Brother Spread L, I follow, excuse me, can you hear that? Hold on, excuse me. Somebody trying to call. Let me take them off. I follow a prophet named Nobuju Ali, and he taught me who I am, and so what I learned from being a Moorish American is that you must know yourself. If you don't know yourself, then you're not going to know how to solve the problems that you are faced with or the challenges that you are faced with, because it all depends on you knowing yourself. And my lesson is for all the people that I concern myself with, or those who I try to teach and uplift, to know yourself. Because if you don't know your true self, then you ain't gonna know how to solve the problems that you have. And you're not gonna be able to make the change that's necessary for you to become a productive member or positive member of society. And so that's what I'm doing. Pardon me?
How many years were you incarcerated?
I was incarcerated for 40 years.
Oh my goodness.
For 40 years. And believe it or not, I'm not bitter about it, because I trust in the guidance of God. See, Moses spent 40 years in the desert before God allowed him to come out the desert. Mm-hmm. Jesus spent 40 years in the desert, 40 days rather, in the desert, until he got ready to come out of the wilderness. And so I kind of relate that to Moses and Jesus, doing their 40, and I did 40.
You did your 40. And when you came out, how did you reintegrate into society after 40 years?
A day at a time.
Okay.
I took it a day at a time, and I didn't rush into getting involved into different things that would probably be exciting for other people, So I just took my time, and I had to stay focused on the fact that things change. Things are constantly changing.
That's
and so
correct.
I had to make sure that I stayed focused on that philosophy. Things will change in a second.
Absolutely. So you
I'm,
mentioned in 40 years, the changes that have come around from the time you went in to the time you came out. Lots of cell phones and computers and internet and all of those things that you had to get yourself accustomed to being involved in after that time. Coach, how you were incarcerated for what, 15 years, did you tell me?
No, a couple months shy of 20.
12, couple of months shy of 20. So the same holds for you. When you went in, cell phones were not the rage either then. And
Yeah, it was kind of big inside of a box. It was, I would tell you a funny story if you don't mind. First, I want to say congratulations to the brother, big brother. That man seen me. He seen me essentially grow up. And one of the worst, I would have to say one of the most dangerous environments you could be in, which was 4 Block Jackson. He seen Rebecca Bay seen me.
Okay, say that again. Where was it again?
4 Block Jackson. They call it 4 Block. That was Jackson, the big house.
Okay.
Yeah, I was actually under 21, but I messed up so much at the Michigan Reformatory, which they call Gladiator School. They sent me. I didn't know what I was creating. They sent me there, and when I tell you that was an eye opener, I can safely say this, and I'm gonna answer your question. I had fear every day of my life of incarceration, but I wasn't afraid. I had fear, and that kept me on my toes. I remember one time, Rebecca Bay, myself, and some more guys was on the yard. We was talking, and a friend of ours who passed away, Big Charlie, went out on a visit. He went out perfect. Good looking, tall dude, joke, deep voice, good guy. Go out, and everybody got their own demons, but good guy. He go out on a visit. Well, it was a rival on that same visit. Didn't nobody know. Next thing you know, they rushing him out. He got a bandage on his head with a red spot on it. The guy that hit him in the head on the visit while they with their family. That's how dangerous it was. You remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
Very dangerous. Yeah, very dangerous environment. So, no, I appreciate every time this man talked to me. And like I say, nobody's perfect. Nobody's an angel. We were men amongst some of the worst men, but we tried to be the best of the worst. So no doubt about it, this man taught me a lot. So I'm very grateful and appreciative. But to answer your question, Auntie, what helped? One thing I'm gonna tell you, when I met my wife, I got out Valentine's Day. I came home. I was one of the first to come home in the reentry program, which was a joke. They let me out. I'm in the. I go to this church because at this point, I had the guys who knew me that their number was in my pocket, but I had been gone nearly 20 years. I didn't know nothing about the streets no more. But I knew I had to do something. I ended up going into her church. I'm not Christian, but I went into the church because it was black people in there. Wherever black people was praising God, I know I could use my wording and my phrases just equate it because God is in the house, right?
Okay.
I met my wife, who I never knew her, didn't know her, but this sister came up to me out of all these people that was coming up to me after I stood up and told the pastor it was a Bible study night. I told him, man, right on the east side, East Lake Baptist Church. I told Pastor Cunningham, I said, man, I feel like I'm being torn into 1,000 pieces. I don't know what to do. I just came home. He was like, man, I want to meet you after the service. And everybody was clapping for me, but they didn't know that claps meant nothing. I'm lost. So I'm going to meet him. All these people coming up, and I hear this woman's voice in a pew. When I look over, it's my now wife. She was putting her books in her bag, and she turned to me, and she had what now I know is a Bluetooth, and that was the bigger ones on the outside. So I thought she was deaf. So I'm like, she's attractive, plus she's deaf. I got a Superman. What they say? Save them. I love to save people and save them. So I'm thinking she's deaf. I'm like, oh, she's pretty and she's deaf. She needs me. So push come to shove, I met Pastor. Really, we built a rapport and a relationship. He funeralized my mother and my brother God rest his soul. And he married me and my wife. So we got married not even a few months after me meeting her. We didn't know each other from a can of paint. But I would say acclimating out here was maybe at first it was tough, but being with a woman like my wife, who her family never been in trouble. They was middle class. She wouldn't even think about dating a guy like me, but God touched her. She told me that. And so she, along with her family, accepted me because I never had, unlike Bumeka Bay, I never had family, real loving family. So they accepted me after they got to know me. And when I tell you, just a small thing, we went to Red Lobster. So we had a long table. My wife and I down at this end, she across from me. So she eating shrimp, but she leaving the little tail. Now, I never been to a shrimp place before I start crunching on the tail. Why you ain't eat? So she's like, what is you doing? I said, so that the family, loving people around, people that care because they could see who you are and not who you were made out to be. They took the time. Oh, and I got to tell you this. I got to give a shout out, Miss Artina Hardman.
Yes.
You know who Artina? Listen to me.
Absolutely. She is the executive director of Mac Alive. And listen to this.
That's right.
I'm the chairman of the board of Mac Alive.
Well, get this. They kept refusing me a parole. They would not. Now, granted, I had a file about this thick, 3 inches thick.
Okay.
Listen, I'm telling you, I was an idiot. But when I went in there, they called me and said, Sprat, you're going to a parole hearing. I was like, oh, man. Then in GP, they still shackled you, right? So it just looked bad.
Mm-hmm.
Go in there. I sit down. I'm thinking I see 2 sisters in there. She was training another sister. I was like, oh, man, I see 2 sisters. I might have a shot. Until I get in there and I see that file sitting in front of it. So off the top, I get deflated. And I sit down. That sister said, and I didn't know who she was. She said, you know what? You're not still sitting in those blues because of this case. She said, you was 17 and a half. She said, granted, somebody lost their life, but I can understand. I can see that you done your time. You did 20 years. She said, the reason why you still sitting in that chair is because of this file. I said, ma'am, can I explain that? She said, yeah. I said, ma'am, with all honesty, that file does not reflect who I am truly. I said, that file reflects who I'm expected to be in this environment. I don't care if it's an officer or another inmate. If you don't check behavior in there, your life could easily be on the line. I mean, you have to, it's unfortunate, but you have to do what you got to do every day. You got to be on point with your head on a swivel. And when I explained that to Miss Hardman, I almost get choked up. When I explained that to Auntie, she understood. Next thing I know, I got a parole. I'm in the reentry, and I get out here and I establish myself. And I went back and I took her a bush of roses. Ask her when you get a chance. We both shed tears in Mac Alive.
She is a fantastic woman with Mac Alive. She is absolutely fantastic.
Wow.
Yes. And I tell you, lots of stories, and it's just been such a pleasure to hear the stories from you two gentlemen, because this is real life. You've lived it.
Yeah.
But you came out on the other side, and now look at you. You're helping others, and hopefully help some other young brothers not to go where you went.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It takes all of us to be able to do that, and particularly, I can say something to them, but when you say it, it's a whole nother ball game.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been there.
I want to add. Can I add something, Auntie?
Sure.
I try to tell people now when they contact me, or if I bump into some brothers that been the way I've been and they just got out, the first thing I tell them is this, man. Listen, don't look past therapy. Therapy is real, man. You need to see there needs to be a therapeutic diagnosis just for individuals, men and women coming out of the system. Matter of fact, even children aging out of foster care. We have a different psychosis than the average psychosis. It's a different thing. My wife could not kiss me for a long time. She couldn't touch my from my waist up. She couldn't come home from Bible class or somewhere and I'm in there taking a nap. She couldn't come touch from my waist up, period. She'll have to wiggle my toe because I jump up in such a defense, even though I'm unaware of what I'm doing. She thought I was going to hit her on a couple of occasions. I said, no, I'm not going to. She said, look at you. Look at your body language. Post-traumatic stress disorder coming out of that that hellish environment is true. It's real. We used to say a saying, I don't draw up on feelings. That's almost saying we made ourselves robotic in our logic and reasoning and movement in order to survive. We cut off our feelings and emotions in order to survive. So and that's just to survive, not because we was bad people. So there needs to be.
That's amazing. Yes. Amazing. I am so glad to have had you two gentlemen today. I need to have you guys come back. So because I need to be able to have some more time to hear from you, to hear from Mr. Bay, to hear from you, Coach, to hear how you're helping these other young people get back to
yes,
be
ma'am.
real people, because clearly what they were in prison is not what they are now. And they need some help getting reintegrated back into regular society. Will you come back with me one day?
Anytime.
And talk some more what it's about and share, because young people need to hear what you're saying.
Anytime. All you have to do is call me. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, both of you, for being on today. It's been my pleasure to meet both of you and to hear both of you. I can't wait to have you back to talk some more to these young people, to let them hear your stories and hear the kinds of things that you're doing to help others reintegrate. Thank you so much,
ma'am.
you guys.
Yes,
Thank you, everyone, for the Community Bell Show today. We'll see you next Monday at 4:00 for the Community Bell Show. Have a great week.
Love you, man.
Thank you. Okay, y'all be peaceful.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit.
Congratulations to WVTC Gospel Radio, as they are again the recipients of the 2023 Stellar Award for Best Internet Radio Station of the Year. Many thanks to our viewers. Keep watching as we are winning victories through Christ.
You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.